smile. Maybe, oh maybe, we'll stop for a little while. Maybe, oh maybe, we'll watch the sun go down. And maybe, oh maybe, we'll decide to stick around. And maybe we won't, and decide to take a walk. And you and I will ponder as we wander, as we walk.
Welcome to Ponder While We Wander. We're two friends who happen to be therapists go on a walk as we discuss relationships, nature, and meet life in the moment. Each episode is grounded in some aspect of eco-psychology, but can take us anywhere as we ponder while we wander. And you're invited to come along.
And you and I will ponder as we wander, as we walk.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Natasha.
Can you tell us where we are today?
Yes, today we are at Fort Flagler State Beach. And we are walking on the beach right now, looking for birds, listening for birds. They are flying around everywhere. And there were some areas we were walking in a little bit that you could hear them really vibrantly. So, oh, I heard some back there.
I hear some back there. Maybe we're just here in the water right now. Oh, there's some birds.
Oh, I see an eagle. 2 eagles.
Oh, yeah.
Birds everywhere.
There's birds everywhere. Those are some bald eagles up there. Yes. And we're talking about this topic today as perhaps an entry point into a few things, into attention, into relationship, and into nature.
Agreed.
A lot of people are into birds right now. Lots of books out there about birds. Lots of interest. I think even since the...
Look at that one. It's hopping on that log.
It is. Even since the pandemic, I think we had a chance to be around birds and slow down enough. And then when you slow down enough, you realize there are birds everywhere.
Birds everywhere.
Maybe we should go back to that trail we came down.
Sure, let's do it.
All right.
We'll follow the birds.
Let's go follow the birds. Let's go find them.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
I mean, personally, I really love birds. They bring me a lot of joy. I love listening to them. I have a tattoo of birds on my back. How do you feel about birds, Natasha?
I love me some birds. Yeah. I find them fascinating little creatures. And just really very lucky, or feel very lucky that I get to inhabit spaces where these little birds show up. And that's really exciting. Yeah, I have fond memories of birds in my life. We had a cockatoo. No, not cockatoo, cockatiel.
Cockatiel.
When I was growing up. It's actually my brother's cockatiel.
Oh, there's a deer right there.
There is a deer right there. Oh, she's beautiful.
Oh, there's another one.
Oh, hello.
Oh, they're having a nice little dinner.
They are. They really don't care that we're right here. But that little bench right there seems like a nice little place to hear birds.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Maybe a little farther away from the ocean. Here we are.
Here we go. Oh, sorry to disturb. Don't mind us.
Don't mind us.
It's okay. You can eat. Deer looking at us warily.
Yes. So we had a cockatiel that my brother had, and I remember when he got it, and he was getting all the things that you need to keep birds alive, and one of the things that he needed to have was like a clotting powder. Because if a bird accidentally got hurt for some reason, they only have like a minuscule amount of blood in their system, and so like they can very easily bleed out.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so to me they're kind of really fragile little creatures, but then they live out in the wild and they forage around and somehow build nests out of things. We saw a nest on the beach the other day, and it was just a work of art. It was
A work of art. And fascinating. Like, how did the bird even create this?
right.
It's amazing.
Right.
They migrate long distances. They survive in harsh conditions. I think we have a lot we can learn from birds.
Yes, we do. We have a lot we can learn from birds. And I think one of the things is paying attention, and a certain kind of attention, a slowing down attention that comes with birds and bird watching and bird appreciation. I've been reading Amy Tan's book that she wrote on her. She calls it an obsession with birds. And one of the things that she recognizes that once you start paying attention to birds and really paying attention, you start paying attention to more and more things, like what they eat and weather patterns and the habitats and cycles and predators, and it is an entry point to being able to pay attention to so much more than just the birds.
Yeah. Makes me think of whenever I see a whole bunch of birds clustered together, dancing around on the water, it always draws my attention because I'm always curious, like, what else is out there? What are they eating, or what might else be coming to eat the same thing that they're eating? I mean, I'm always on the lookout for orcas. It's like one of my side attention tracks that's always on. So I'm always, whenever I notice that type of bird activity, I always get extra curious. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's out there.
Yeah. I also like that there are so many different kinds of birds here because we're by the ocean. So you've got the birds that hang out on the water and in the water, near the water. But then this is like a forested area here, so you've got so many other songbirds and cedar waxwings and even some starlings that were out there, and all kinds of birds that I don't even know the names of.
Crows. We saw some crows on our way in.
Yes, we did. We saw some crows on the way in. We did. We heard them too. So just where the different land is and the birds that are associated with it, just fascinating to me. I think being able to pay attention to it. I also think that once you start paying attention, that it seems so fragile, these lands that we're all inhabiting at times. And like these deer right here and these birds are real close to campsites that are like yards away. And somehow we're figuring out how to all be together. And right across the bay here, there's cities and highways and trains and big trucks, and it's somehow birds are able to navigate all of that, and yet a lot of their habitat is disappearing. Especially up here, there's this big logging area, so those are trees are homes. Trees are homes.
Trees are homes.
Yeah. And so sometimes when you start paying attention to that stuff, I think there's also some grief that comes up.
I'm noticing what is changing or what is lost, or the impacts on environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if, that helps people or hinders people from paying attention to birds as we go through this.
Yeah, an entry point into paying attention to a lot of different things.
So grief and loss, we've talked about this before. We don't have a really great way for us to express and hold grief and loss. And with something as big as, ongoing changes to the climate and to land and habitats, that it affects the animals and plants around us. It can be really hard to have a relationship with birds, with place, with land, without having a way to grieve a loss. And I think that there are lots of ways that we can honor that and be a part of the conversation of how we impact certain areas. Yeah, I guess I wonder if that also keeps people sometimes away from certain subjects of getting into relationship with the birds and the beings and the plants and animals and land around them, because it is hard.
It is hard, and once you know that's happening or you're paying attention, you can't really avoid it.
Yeah. So I also, when we were talking about this, I was also remembering that we were talking about stories where birds have been so part of human evolution and our cultures, that almost every culture has stories and mythology about birds. And there's some beautiful ones from the kind of fantastical, phoenix that rises from the ashes, to some of the Native American stories about ravens that poke holes in the sky and turn starlight on. There's all kinds of trickster birds and birds. You were talking about birds out at sea.
Yeah, birds out at sea. I was also just thinking about, owls. We have a lot of associations with owls, about wisdom and birds at sea. I mean, the tattoo that I have, I came to that decision, because I knew I had wanted a bird tattoo, but I was doing some reading about, how maritime sailors, when they had, made a long journey, a long voyage, when the sparrows would come out to sea and meet the boat, that was their signal that they had made the long journey. They were almost at their destination. They had, survived, and they did it. And so, that was inspiring to me and was relevant at the time of my life, of there can be some symbolism around making a long journey or doing something very difficult or overcoming a challenging moment in time. So some symbolism around that. And I know birds are all over maritime lore and stories as well. That was just a brief one that had caught my attention.
Yeah, and as we're talking about that, I'm thinking also, I'm hearing in the background some music from the campground that's coming through, and the associations of bird song. And there's been discussions about whether our own sense of musicality as humans developed from hearing bird song. And I can totally imagine that. Like, I can see where our sense of musicality has come from listening and really paying attention to bird song and how musical they are. I read the book about Mozart's starling, where at some point in his life, Mozart adopted a starling, and whether or not he picked up some, this
It's the fairy horn.
oh, that's a fairy horn. If he picked up some musicality from his starling, or his starling picked up musicality from him, and whether that was a relationship and that they had together, if they were composing together, and how beautiful that would be to compose with the starling, perhaps.
Yeah, I also was thinking about the bird song, part of that more trilling lyrical sound that we sometimes hear, not just the bird call. There's sometimes that's for mating, but it's also not only for that. And I think it's really interesting how I was reading about that the birds teach each other that. So like the younger birds, learn the songs from the older birds, or more mature bird. Or whenever you learn a bird song as a bird, I don't know when that happens. Whenever that transfer of knowledge comes into play. But what struck me about that was so beautiful is, it feels like oral tradition to me, where, important things are passed down, and for the birds, it's through the song. So, yeah, I just think that's really a sweet way to also think about birds.
I also, have read about where birds have a long history of being in sound recordings, in movies and in television shows. If they're going to depict an outdoor location, they need to be able to add bird sound to it, because if not, we as humans don't accept it as a reality if there are not bird sounds. And I don't know, any sound recorders out there can prove me wrong if that's the case, but I think it's kind of beautiful that we have been around birds for so long, that might be the case. There's also some theories that, we evolved around birds so long that we kind of can understand bird language. And I know that I think I understand the birds that are around the place where I live. Like, I can tell when they're upset. I can tell when things are, happening in the neighborhood. And then also, do birds stop? When birds stop making noise, is there a predator around or something that has scared them? And I think that's been the case as well. Like, you would hear birds, or it's kind of going on in the background, and then all of a sudden there are no birds, and I get kind of alerted to that, like what just happened, or what's going on.
It's too quiet.
Yeah.
Or even, sometimes you might see a whole flock of birds all of a sudden. It always draws my attention to be like, what happened over there, or what's coming?
What's going on? What's coming on? What's going on over there? Yeah. And then sitting here long enough, we hear the birds start to come back again. Sometimes they fly away, but when you sit kind of quietly in an area, they tend to get used to you and start coming back around again. Can't believe these deer have just been hanging out with us.
I know.
They don't really care that we're here.
I was going for the wild roses. Good choice. Delicious. Those are my fave.
Should be deer everywhere.
Deer everywhere.
At least two of them. So other stories too about, birds. I think we all have had some kind of bird story in our life. And whether it be a song about ducklings that run over the hill and back again, right? Or, yeah, the ugly duckling, stories that are part of. But if we allow this to maybe be an opening for some meaning making, we were talking about that, of we as humans, we tell stories because we like to make meaning out of things. And I think birds can help in that kind of way of story and mythology, but also as symbolism. And it's culturally appropriate too to have different stories about different birds, right? For owls that might be wise in one culture, they might be harbinger of of not so great things in another culture. And so being able to, if we look back in our own histories far enough, there was really no separation between what we might now call science and religion. Everything was all together, and it was a way to make sense of the world. And these stories or oral traditions were also meant to help us make sense and make meaning. And they weren't always supposed to be taken at face value. They had symbolism. They had that information that was passed down, like you're talking about birds pass down that information. And so how might we use that now in modern day times with birds? Any thoughts that come to mind for you?
For meaning making or passing down traditions? I think, it brings a story to mind for me. There's a couple different birds that I associate different meanings with, but anytime I see a hummingbird, I often think about my mom. I think hummingbirds, I've heard stories like that from a lot of people that have, lost a loved one, that the hummingbird often shows up and there can be a sense of, recognition for the person that passed, or a greeting or a nod or an appreciation when the hummingbird arrives. I think for me particularly, it was on the second anniversary of when my mom had passed, and I was doing a little, like memorial ceremony for her with my husband, and we were trying to light these paper lanterns, which I don't think I'd ever lit one before, and it was comically disastrous, which was funny, and we all enjoyed that. My mom would have appreciated that. But when we were leaving the beach where we had been trying to sort of launch these lanterns for her, we were walking up the hill, and this great, giant white owl swooped down right in front of us. Right in front of our path, and then took off and soared up. And to me, the meaning that I made of that, it was just it was almost like a nod from my mom, or a hey, a recognition that there's still this connectedness between us. And so I've had owls show up like that for me a couple different times, driving on the road at night, and one was in the very center of the road. It was a small, back country road, so it was safe to stop, but it was sitting in the ground, and it was just looking at me. And anytime there's an owl that's just so forward and present and obvious, it's so obvious that I can't look away from some of those types of interactions. Yeah, so to me, it's very meaningful. I know people might have different ideas about that, or different animals that show up for them, but for me, there's meaning that I make around those types of experiences of connectedness, and still feeling a connection to my mom. What about for you?
Those are great stories, and how they keep showing up for you. You and I were talking earlier about synchronicity, and it's something that we kind of use in depth psychology, of taking a look at when things pop up at the same time or tend to show up at the same time, to be able to slow down and maybe go a little deeper with some connections, not as omens or predictions of what might be happening, but as a deepening of an understanding, or maybe even another kind of knowing, more, maybe you could call it right brain or intuition, or some people would connect it to the psyche, or another word for psyche is spirit or soul, right? That soul connection. And so I think those are times when, it's not every day that you run into an owl like that, or a big animal like that. For me, it's been herons that have showed up. And I had this one experience when I was younger, when I was at my grandparents' farm, and I could have sworn that I saw a pterodactyl. And I followed that pterodactyl to this little kind of pond area. And turns out it wasn't a pterodactyl, surprisingly, but this huge bird that I was smaller, and I'd never seen a bird that big in my entire life. I didn't know what to call it at the time, but it was such a beautiful experience. And we were there in this space together and made eye contact. And it was like, that bird let me be there and I let it be there. And we had a moment. We had a moment together. And I never did tell anybody about it. And I remembered it years and years later. And in fact, I remembered part of it when you and I were walking together in, all places, Dublin. And on the ground, there were blue shells, blue eggshells. And I was really curious, like, whose blue eggshells are these? And way, way high, tall up in the trees, you would look up, and there were those herons up in the trees. And that was also a very special moment to be with you and seeing those herons, and thinking about, what's that fall from those trees like? Oh my gosh, what kind of faith you have to have in your nest building skills to like birth your babies in the 50, in the treetops 60, up there. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
but those are some pretty cool experiences. And then later on, maybe being able to take those and understand them a little bit better at different times. Just throughout different times of my life, they came and had different meanings.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like about this meaning making or noticing the synchronicity is, it always just gives me a moment to pause and reflect and lean into memory, or think about, important people, or I get curious about what my own intuition might be saying about something. Lots of entry points there too.
Yeah. And birds might not be everybody's thing. If birds freak you out, because some people are a little freaked out by birds, then it's not birds. It's something else.
Birds. And, I think sometimes people might feel like there's a time and place for birds, and 4 a.m. in the morning chirping might not be everybody's favorite time for a bird. Right. But maybe like midday or dusk might be a little easier to enjoy the birds.
Yeah. And some birds and not other birds, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think instead of this being just a, biology 101 about birds, where you can find that anywhere. Lots of people write about birds right now. I'd say if you're interested, do the deep dive. Go in and find out more about birds. And also, I think, maybe take a personal reflection of the encounters you've had with birds in your life, where they've shown up for you, even in dreams or in some other way that birds have shown up. And maybe go a little bit deeper with it. Let's see, you have any ponder points for us around this?
I think I would just invite people to get curious about a memory that they've had with a bird. One might not pop into your mind right away, but I would just be curious of like, if you slowed down for a moment and you got particularly, curious about that, like, do I have a memory of a bird and what was that experience like for me? Is there any meaning that I might add from that experience?
Yeah. I'm going to go a different route and say, like, is there a quality of bird that you particularly are drawn to? Is it the soaring, or is it the kind of wiliness of the bird, or the type of bird that you like? And is that a quality in yourself that maybe you would like to accentuate a little bit more? Yeah.
Foster within yourself.
Yeah, foster within yourself, and play around with it and have fun. Well, thank you for talking about birds. We're in this location where hopefully you could hear some of the birds around, because there are birds everywhere. And next episode, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about my right eye keeps twitching. And we're in Discovery Bay, Washington, talking about that. Come listen to us talk about our bodies and how we can tune into them for relationships with ourselves and connecting with nature. Until then, wander well.